Let's move on, though, to there are some secret roles and cameos in this movie we're going to talk about now, so full spoilers are about that. Let's start with a returning villain that I so geeked out about in the cinema when it finally happened.
I can attest, they all geeked out about it.
Red Skull. Dude, Red Skull is back, if even for that one moment. And I have to say, the thing I loved about that was a fate worse than death for him. He is trapped on a planet. He seemed like he was neither dead nor alive. It's still him. He's still Johann Schmidt, but he's got like the Death Grim Reaper kind of cape.
He's
on
guarding a stone he can never get.
He's like the crypt keeper basically for the Soul Stone. So did you like them even acknowledging that Red Skull is still around?
Yes, because that has been just an ongoing thing since Captain America: First Avengers, and of course, for those who don't remember how that ended, is that Red Skull had the Space Stone, which is the Tesseract, and then he got teleported off very clearly into a beam into space. Never knew what happened to him. And then, and so to have him finally show up, because Kevin Feige, and everyone else has been asked about him for so freaking long, and finally he shows up in a surprise appearance in Infinity War, when we know that Hugo Weaving, the actor who played him, was like, I'm never coming back to do that.
And he did not.
They got a different actor from
The Walking Dead.
Yes. Yeah. So it was just it was a delight, and it was super nerdy. I know, Terry, you didn't love it, but it was super cool.
I would not say I did. I thought it was really cool. I really like that it does resolve this this plot hole. Red Skull, I'm gonna get so much hate for this. He just was never one of my favorite favorite villains, and honestly, like the first Avenger is just not one of my favorite Marvel movies. I know. I'm in the minority on that.
I actually didn't love First Avenger. I don't love Red Skull, but it was more just that they finally brought him back in this kind of cool role.
I felt this was like. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but similar to a moment in The Last Jedi where they bring back a really unexpected character. Like, I found this to be a very similar thing. But it is such a cool, to have that moment. I like that we were all just completely wrong with our theories on the Soul Stone and what it was up to, and it's just so unexpected, but also so perfectly Marvel to really tie that back to something that was Phase 1. And I wonder if the writers who worked on the first Captain America movie have been cooking this up ever since as well, and they know in their head okay, if we get to the point that we're gonna do Infinity War, we're gonna have Red Skull involved somehow in space. I think that payoff is so great, and I think that is probably the geekiest, coolest reveal in this movie. That I wonder if your general audience will remember him, but it doesn't even matter because it's worth it for that.
I will say there's one other actor. We knew he was in the movie, but we didn't know officially what role he was playing. That's Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones, and he's the giant space dwarf who runs the forge that builds Thor's new weapon. What did you think of his appearance? Did it pull you out of the movie at all? Did it work for you? What did you think?
I thought it was fine, but I feel like in the effort of sort of expediting the story and not adding one new character for us to care about, Thor could have showed up, somehow had the knowledge to figure it out himself and then just done it, which he essentially did himself as well. I get the plot purpose, but this is where I think we sort of get into a situation of bloat with this movie, where it's already long, you're already juggling so many characters. Was there a simpler way to do this that we didn't need to spend so much time on it and still have the really cool resolution of him getting this new weapon?
Do you think this guy is going to be the key to them building a new Infinity Gauntlet to somehow defeat Thanos?
Still has the mold for it.
Yeah, that is true. They did set that up. That could be a possibility. And they go back and they have another 25-minute long sequence where they get the forge going.
Yeah, who's going to hold the doors open this time?
Yeah.
I did not love the character. It's funny how in the beginning, Peter Quill was doing the man voice like Thor, and then yet Peter Dinklage's character was actually doing the man, just gruff, he was clearly just putting on this
fake British accent.
Yeah. Yes, he was putting on this
theatrical.
Yeah, he was just putting on this really gruff voice that did just not sound natural at all. It sounded like Peter Dinklage doing a voice, and it just kind of threw me off and made me realize that this is just Peter Dinklage in just kind of a weird, unexpected role.
Right.
And I like how dwarves in the MCU are for some reason massive giants.
Yeah. Well, it makes you
I
wonder
dig it.
how many other beings, there are that are that much taller than them. That they're, is there a giant? Is there a race of giants out there that we haven't seen yet? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I will also say, though, one
Maybe.
thing that didn't quite land with me in Thanos' logic is his whole thing is like you're destroying half of a group of people for balance, but he killed all the dwarves except for him. And I was like, why didn't he kill
Well, all
half
the
of them?
dwarves that were there.
Well, you're right. That's not
Right,
That's
I
the
guess
bad
that's
guy
true.
thing, if you leave
I
one
guess
behind
that's
to tell
true.
the story
Yeah,
kind of
but
thing,
and then also
yeah.
I guess he took away his hands because the whole idea was like you aren't going to be making anything like this won't make anything.
And yet he
else. That
still
makes
kind of
sense.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with
although
his
he misplaced the
He
stick.
didn't expect he'd have a Thor.
Or Groot. Actually, Groot's the one that kind of saved the day there.
Yeah, with his arm handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the arm handle disappear too? Because Groot disappeared.
Oh, probably not. I don't know.
R.I.P.
Bummer. Man, this movie is depressing. All right, so that's Peter Dinklage, that's Red Skull. Now, there's two more cameos actually that pop up at the very end. We have Nick Fury and Maria Hill come back at the very, very end of the movie. What did you think about finally seeing them back? I have some big kind of lingering questions still about Nick Fury's role in all this. But-
I'm going to show my bias
Okay.
and just say I love Kobe Smulders. And I love that Maria Hill keeps showing up in things and that the MCU hasn't forgotten about her. So I was thrilled to see her and also Nick Fury. But definitely that Maria Hill has
Yeah.
not been forgotten. Where's Coulson? Coulson
Yeah.
could have been in that scene.
It was strange for all these events to happen, especially in like the middle of New York City getting attacked by aliens again, and then Nick Fury doesn't show up to help. It didn't even look like,
Well, they weren't in New York, right?
where were they?
Because
were in a city.
They were in a city, but I thought he was saying like, hey, this happened in New York.
Oh. But either way, like they clearly weren't in like a
They were
rush
in
to
America,
get anywhere.
I think.
Yeah.
It looked like an American.
It looked like
city.
they were just
All right, They
driving-
were filming in Atlanta. We all know it. But like,
It looked like they were just like driving down the road. Like I felt like they should have been in a hurry to get somewhere or in a bunker somewhere trying to like
Right.
launch a defense.
What are they doing?
I'm being picky, but it was of course cool to see them because Nick Fury started it all, and she was right there alongside him, of course. So it was great to see them again. But of course, they get their number called.
But also, I think it's important to have those two because
calling the number.
it's a clear tie, and that whole post-credits tag is a teaser for Captain Marvel, which we know is coming out in 2019, beginning of 2019, before Avengers 4 comes out in May. So, and we know that Nick Fury will be a big part of it because this is taking place in the 90s as well. So I think that was why they needed to have him in there. But I think your big concern is like, what's he been up to?
Okay, yeah. So this guy was. We'll get to the Captain Marvel stuff in a second here, but he went on the run.
He's dead, right?
He fakes his death, goes on the run. Somehow gets a helicarrier to help them out during Ultron, so he's back in somebody's good graces.
That's fixed. That's resolved in S.H.I.E.L.D., for the record.
It
if you
is,
watch
yes.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you'll know the answer.
And I won't be watching. And then there's like all this. So now he's back in an American city or wherever he is, and just all surveillance everywhere. Like, what's he doing? What's his end game? So let's talk about the Captain Marvel, the big.
You're
Easter
just
egg
leaving
there.
it on this question.
Well, no, because here's the thing. You say that it's set in Captain Marvel set in the 1990s. Nick Fury, we know from Kevin Feige, he will have both eyes still, so we'll find out how he lost his eye. He's been carrying around this pager or beeper from for the last 25 years that can call the space cavalry. You never use that thing during the Battle of New York or anything else. You wait until you're literally turning into mist before you send a message. First of all, how does that damn thing work? Because you guys don't remember pagers. I don't think the range on that was that good. But
It was clearly a space pager.
it was a space pager, yep, and it had the little Captain Marvel logo, but it's clearly setting up what's coming up next. But to me, it also raised a lot of questions about, well, if you did have access to this, why didn't you use it? Why did you even need the Avengers?
I almost feel like we might find out in Captain Marvel.
I bet you we do.
Only
But
calling
again,
Thanos
like
uses the
the
infinity
reverse
gauntlet.
engineering
Right.
of like we need to justify an Easter egg for setting up our next corporate product instead of maybe
Right.
it being logical, because it's kind of like we've had 10 years of you're setting up this thing, but they all felt a little bit more kind of logically kind of why it was there.
You're right.
It never made me stop and go, now I'm rethinking everything I thought I knew about the previous movie.
Right. I think you're right in feeling that way, and that might be just a plot hole, and who knows, it might be addressed.
Now tell me why I'm wrong.
That's not even what I was going to say. I would say y'all are burying the lead. They tease Captain Marvel.
I know.
That's so cool. I love the way they did it, of just kind of the slow, and it's like the dots going across, like, what is this thing? Then the logo appears, it's like, oh my gosh. For those that don't know, by the way, Captain Marvel is like a cosmic superhero, gets her powers from aliens. She's played by Brie Larson, and yeah, she's getting her solo movie that takes place before. It's filming now. It's going to come out after Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Avengers 4, and she's presumably going to be in Avengers 4 and be a big part of that. And she's actually
it's before Avengers 4. It's Ant-Man and the Wasp is this July, which I think is taking place. You said after.
It's coming out right before Avengers 4. Yeah. Yes, and then she's presumably going to be a part of that movie. And also, she was originally in Infinity War, but they cut her out. I actually visited the set of Infinity War, and they were talking about how, like, oh, she like has scenes with this person, and she like has a great costume, and they were just like, she's out. But this is epic. This is awesome. I'm very excited for it. I don't have a problem with the plot holes yet.
I actually do love this specific, like, plot holes aside, the way they did this cliffhanger, because it feels so reminiscent of the first Thanos post-credits tag in the first Avengers movie. Because I remember, so like the people who got it, and the people who didn't, who are like, who's that big purple guy? And when we saw it, there literally was a lady or a person next to you who was like, what is that at the end?
They go, was that Captain America? And
I did the verbal equivalent of an IGN explains this thing, and I was like, you know what? You sat next to the right guy.
But I love that though, because it still is bringing that like wonder and like, oh, there's more to this world than I know. So many of the post-credit tags are referencing things that everyone.
Marvel added.
No, I think it's special, and also like, as you know, we've been told this is the end. It's the beginning of a new phase of Marvel movies, especially after Avengers 4. Like, to be reminding people there's more in this universe that you know. I think it's really cool for the general audience. Like, there's more that can get you excited. There's more out there that can save the day than just the Avengers, and I think that like represents a lot in like the hope for whatever Phase 4 or whatever we'll call it will be.
So that's what we thought of Avengers Infinity War. We want to hear what you think. Let us know in the comments. Check out IGN's review of the film, as well as our breakdown of all of the Easter eggs that we could find. And as always, be sure to follow and subscribe on whatever platform you like to watch IGN.